Hey guys, welcome to Minnesota Sports HQ. I'm Ben and thought I'd film another video today. So basically what this is going to be is my rankings for the starting quarterbacks for next season. So who's going to have the best season perhaps, or who's most valuable to their team. So I'm going to start with who I think is the worst quarterback in the league. And my two bottom ones are the two that have some potential to change. So Eli Manning and Daniel Jones are my worst quarterbacks in the league right now for the New York Giants. Obviously, Daniel Jones was the 6th pick. I think he's a little bit better than Dwayne Haskins, but Eli Manning isn't as good as Case Keenum for the Redskins. So that's why I put Case Keenum and Dwayne Haskins ahead in the 31st spot. Moving up the ladder, Jameis Winston. He isn't on a great team, so that doesn't help, but I feel like he's had tons of chances to prove his worth over his 4 years in the league and hasn't really done it for me. Moving on swiftly, Josh Rosen to the Dolphins. I haven't seen enough out of this kid with an okay team to know if he's good or not. Obviously, the Dolphins got a steal for him. Whenever you get a starting quarterback for what they paid, that's pretty great. Andy Dalton at 28 from the Bengals. Not a great team. Actually has some good wide receivers, but he should be doing a lot better with what he has on offense. Kyler Murray at 26, or at 27, my apologies. For the Cardinals now, just took over, got a huge contract. I think he'll be good, but with that offensive line, I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to contribute this year. I don't think it's going to be his full potential. Josh Allen at 26 had shines of brightness last year with the Bills. I'm not really sure what he can do this season either, though. Very old running backs, only one wide receiver, and not a great defense. So overall, he's just kind of in a dumpster fire there, even though he is a good quarterback. Sam Darnold at 25 got some pieces around him, still lacking a few wide receivers and an offensive line. But overall, Sam Darnold is a good player on this team, and if the Jets keep improving, who knows what they can do. Marcus Mariota at 24. He's a good quarterback, but the Titans never really molded their scheme to fit him. They kind of just threw him into their scheme and hope it worked. Mariota needs to be able to scramble and hit wide receivers with like 4 or 5 seconds to pass, and currently he's not getting that. So that's why he's at 24. Dak Prescott at 23. The reason the Cowboys win games is not because of him. It's because of Zeke getting 100 yards every single game. It's because of their offensive line, their wide receivers, their defense. He's not really a game changer. He does okay, but I don't really think he's a game changer. 22, Derek Carr for the Raiders. Often underrated, but remember, just a few years ago, they went 12-4 with him as their quarterback. So I think it's a little unfair, all the hate he gets. His team just isn't great, to be completely honest. Jimmy Garoppolo at 21, obviously with his ACL injury last year. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do this year. I think he's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but there are so many good quarterbacks in this league, you can't just be good. You have to make every throw to become elite, and I don't think he's quite there yet. Mitch Trubisky at 20, out of the University of North Carolina, plays for the Chicago Bears. Kind of like with Dak, the Bears don't really win games because of him. It's mainly because of their defense, their trick plays on offense, good running backs, but mainly their defense. Joe Flacco at 19, just traded from Baltimore to Denver. He's a good quarterback, and a few years ago, maybe he would have been close to, number 10, but as he's getting older, younger quarterbacks have stepped up, and the league has just improved in general, and I don't think Joe Flacco is there. Lamar Jackson at 18, really like what he's doing with the Ravens. I just don't think he has the pieces around him quite yet, but he can do a solid job. Don't get me wrong, but there are so many good quarterbacks in the NFL, like I said. Give him a few years, maybe he can move up some spots. And same with the man in front of him, Baker Mayfield. I put Baker at 17, mainly because he's still a little inexperienced. And same goes for Lamar Jackson. Um, obviously a tremendous rookie class of quarterbacks last year, drafted high, but he's got to get some chemistry done with these guys for him to move up this list. Nick Foles at 16, when you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback at 16, being 17 through 20 doesn't sound too bad. Nick Foles, obviously now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Philadelphia definitely has better wide receivers, so I'm a little bit worried about that in Jacksonville. But don't get me wrong, Jacksonville has a decent team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they rebounded after last year. Matthew Stafford at 15. I mean, he's a great quarterback, doesn't have too many weapons around him, but he always puts up the stats. He always puts up the stats. Cam Newton at 14. Arguably, when he's completely healthy, he's higher on this list, but he's had a lot of injury problems lately, which kind of make me worried for him. Same with Carson Wentz at 13. I think he's a great quarterback, but most of his running ability is probably going to be gone after these 2 surgeries, so I'm not really sure what he'll be able to do next year. Jared Goff at 12. Kind of like Mitch Trubisky, he's never really going to win a game by himself, but he's a great system quarterback that can deliver the balls to his star players. Todd Gurley, Cooper Kupp, and Brandon Cooks, among others, on the Rams stack team. Deshaun Watson at 11. I was debating whether or not moving this guy higher. He really helps the Texans out. But it always helps when you have a massive receiver like DeAndre Hopkins to throw to make you look good. I think 11 is about right, and who knows, if he has a good year, maybe he can move up. 10, my hometown boy, Kirk Cousins. I think a top 10 is fair with that contract he signed. He put up a lot of good stats last year, but the offensive line was hot garbage. Giving him some more time to throw this year after improving our offensive line, I think he's a great quarterback. But there are so many good quarterbacks. I mean, even getting 10 is great. I put Matt Ryan at 9. He's going to have a big impact this year with Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley. Lots of good players there down in Atlanta. It's just a question of can they put it all together. Obviously, when they lost Kyle Shanahan to San Francisco, that hurt a lot, and I don't think they've had as much success under Steve Sarkisian as they wanted under offensive coordinator. But he'll still put up some great stats with Julio Jones. Number 8. Well, it's basically 2 that are at 7. You guys are going to have to help me distinguish in the comments. I think that Andrew Luck and Ben Roethlisberger mean just as much to their teams this next year. Andrew Luck, you saw what happened when the Colts didn't have him. Now that they do have him back, they look like a much better team. The offensive line has given him some help. Ben Roethlisberger has a great offensive line too. They both have 1-star wide receiver and no one else. T.Y. Hilton for the Colts, Juju Smith-Schuster for the Steelers. Both of their defenses are struggling, but for some reason they just play well. So they're both at 7 for me right now. I want you guys to tell me who gets 7 in your mind and who gets 8. Who's better, Andrew Luck or Ben Roethlisberger? 6, Phillip Rivers. Obviously, most of his career he hasn't had a chance to go to a Super Bowl. He's got that chance again. Keenan Allen will always put you in contention to win. Much better defense than when he was playing there earlier in his career. Lots of passing to the Williams pair last year. He only has one of them now, but with Melvin Gordon, this team is going to be good, and Rivers is going to be one of the main parts. Now, here's where a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me. I'm putting Mahomes at 5, and you'll see why with the names in front of him. Mahomes is a great quarterback. I picked him up in fantasy last year. Trust me, I know he's a great quarterback. He puts up stats like none other. but sometimes his decision making is a little off. He makes a lot of risky plays. Granted, a lot of them come off, but a lot of them end up in mistakes, and you can't have that in the NFL. So Mahomes, obviously MVP last year. In a couple years, I think he'll be much higher up on this list. But I mean, considering number 4 is Aaron Rodgers for the Packers, I think 5 for Mahomes is a fair spot. Aaron Rodgers, obviously for the Green Bay Packers, has had a lot to go through last season with Mike McCarthy. Now we got LaFleur at quarterback or at coach. Wow, dang. LaFleur at coach is going to help a lot, having an offensive-minded coach. But he did come from Tennessee, where they had Marcus Mariota. So a similar quarterbacking style, can scramble if need to, but most of the time staying in the pocket. I think it could be a good fit, but he does not have a wide receiver too. So if somebody can cover Davante Adams, yikes. Their running game is a little weak too, so Rodgers is going to have to do a lot. Number 3, Russell Wilson, the now highest paid player in the NFL. Good for him. $35 million a year is insane, though. I mean, look what he did last year, though. Like, that team was not great. They had a lot of players injured on offense, and they still found a way to make the playoffs. So I agree with the decision to pay him, but maybe in a few years he won't. And then, of course, that leaves Tom Brady and Drew Brees. New England Patriots, New Orleans Saints, respectively. Um, been the 2 best quarterbacks in the league for the past 5 years. Who am I putting up top, though? Well, Brady's number 2. I think Brady excels because of the system he's in, not necessarily because of his ability. And you can't really fault him for that because it's not his fault who he's put with. But Drew Brees hasn't had a defense for years, and he still finds a way to win shootout after shootout after shootout. And he's got the stats to prove it. Obviously, I'm going to say that the most impactful quarterback is going to be the one who holds the record for career passing yards. He's over 72,000, which is insane, considering Warren Moon in 1998 was like the first one to break 60,000. So that's just absolutely insane that he has that record. So top 5, Brees, Brady, Wilson, Rodgers, Mahomes, with Rivers as a close 6. I'd say those are the 6 elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And yeah, if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks, everybody.